Today we're covering how to make your own Cajon drum set, starting with the basics and going into all the little details that help this kind of kit work. From attaching a pedal to miking it up, I'll give you 5 tips for creating your setup. So it seems like more and more drummers today are integrating cajons into their drum set setups. Whether they're using it as a kick drum that maybe they're sitting on and they've got a pedal attached to, or they've actually got it sitting on a separate stand off to the side that they're playing with their hands as an auxiliary part of the drum set. Either way, I think making your own Cajon drum set is really cool for a few reasons. Number one, it's very practical. It takes up less space. If you're packed into the corner of a restaurant or a coffee shop, you're sitting on your kick drum, then maybe you've got a snare in front of you, a ride, hi-hat. That doesn't take up a lot of space. That's very space effective. Number two, it's really musical and it actually helps put off sort of that acoustic unplugged vibe that a lot of people are really into, especially in small rooms. Sometimes if people walk into a coffee shop or small restaurant and they see, well, there's a whole drum set over there, it's gonna be loud, they might not hang around. But if you've got some kind of cajon setup, it's like, oh, that's nice. It's a cool little percussion setup there and he's playing on a cajon. This is gonna be nice. I could sit back and sip my coffee to this. Now, there are a couple of products out there companies are selling that are sort of your quick solution to this. You can pay like $500 and get a cajon that comes with a remote pedal and a hi-hat with a little snare thing mounted to it. And that's great. If you want to spend the $500, go for it. But my goal here all along was to save money and make my own cajon setup with what I've got. That's what I want to help you do also. So I reversed my slave pedal on my double bass pedal. I've actually got another video coming up where I'll go into detail step by step about how I did that. So I reversed the pedal, I attached it to a piece of plywood, put the cajon on the plywood, added a snare in front, a hi-hat off to the side, a ride cymbal. I know there are probably 1,000 different ways you can configure a Cajon drum set. So I'd really like to see what you guys are doing and get some new ideas. This is just the setup I've done. It's really simple and this has worked great for me. This is all pretty normal drum set stuff, but what's unique here is I've got the bass drum pedal attached to a piece of plywood, just clamped on there. That piece of plywood's about 1/2 inch thick, almost too thick. If it were any thicker, I wouldn't be able to get a pedal on there. But it's just thick enough to be sturdy, so I've got that clipped onto there. Another tricky thing about using the piece of plywood for the base of the cajon, naturally that means that the front side of the plywood is going to be raised just a bit because the pedal's going to raise it up by maybe 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. So it's going to be at a slant. So what I decided to do was stuff a couple magazines under here just to balance it out and reduce stress on the wood. That way the whole piece of wood is actually raised about as much as the front end. So you can see some of those magazines sticking out here. That's just a really cheap, quick and easy way to do that. Another way would be to actually slide another piece of wood in or glue another piece of plywood underneath to balance that out if you know exactly what your pedal height is. I'm using a Vader bomber beater. I really like the sound of that on the cajon. And I like to combine that with a towel for extra muffling. I've got this black hand towel just hanging down right here. So the pedal is hitting up against that and it really gives it a nice mellow thump. Now if you want a more snap, more high end, of course you could take that off. But I really like having that there and it probably increases the life of the front plate on the cajon anyways. That way the pedal's a little easier on it. Over here to the side you can see the pedal setup that I'm using. So I've just got the reversed bass pedal. Looking at that you can see that it's basically just totally backwards. And I actually play with my foot like this. My legs are too long to really be able to have this turned in this way and it not feel awkward. It just ends up not being comfortable for me because I'd rather be able to have my leg extended a little further out. So I like to just have it angled like this, the way it wants to be angled. Have a heel on the carpet here, toes up on the pedal. And I can play just fine like that. It's really important to have some kind of Velcro on the bottom of this pedal over here when you're doing this setup, otherwise it will slide around. If you've got Velcro there, it's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty important when you're using the slave pedal like this to make sure that those joints are staying straight. For instance, you wouldn't want for this pedal to look like that because then it's going to lock up. You try to push down and nothing happens. There has to be big enough angle there for it to work, but it gets stiffer the sharper that angle is. So that's why it's worth it to me to have a really wide angle, almost 180 degrees, almost just straight right there. Even if it means having my heel on the carpet here, it just means really smooth operation. Back here I've got a Beta 52 inside the Cajon. I know you can't see in there, but I've just got that mic sitting on a towel inside the Cajon, and that seems to work really well. Having that in there can really help you bring out the low end from a Cajon. It's almost, in my mind, in my opinion, it's almost pointless to do a setup like this if you're not able to mic the Cajon, because you want that Cajon to sound like a kick drum. You want it to have the power of a kick drum, which you can really achieve having that mic on the inside there. On my particular Cajon, I've got control over the tightness of the snare wires. They're not actual wires on this model. So I've got those loosened all the way, so I've got no snare sound since I'm only using the Cajon as a kick. I'm just leaving those snares off. Just another idea for this setup. Before I reversed my double bass pedal to use that for my right foot over here, I was actually playing on the regular pedal with my right heel. So in doing that, I actually had it angled differently. I would have the whole setup turned and angled like this, so I could have my right foot over here to play a beater right there, have the snare over this way, and have everything else on this side. So that's another way that you could play if you don't have a double bass pedal and you don't want to spend the money on that bass pedal extension. You really could do the heel thing. It's harder to play fast that way, but it actually feels a little more powerful. You can really feel your foot on the drum. It's more like playing an actual kick drum in a way, because you feel like your foot is actually part of making that sound. The thing about using the extension pedal is that it's a little bit distant, and so you don't really feel that impact of the beater hitting the drum. So you feel like you don't have quite as much power, even though you can get good speed doing the extension pedal. So using your heel on the master pedal is another thing to try. Hey, if this video helped get some creative thinking going and maybe helped you save some money on your Cajon setup, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with somebody else who's looking to do the same thing. I'm always eager to hear other people's ideas too, so send me your thoughts, comment, and check out these other videos also on my channel. I'm posting a video about drum tips, techniques, product reviews every week. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out these other videos and click the headshot to subscribe. New drumming tips, techniques, ideas, and product reviews every week.